And a couple of comments. I have some real big concerns about the fact that homework is not required. You say it's expected, but that doesn't mean required. In life outside in the world, you have to turn in your work product. And you don't get to like turn it in later. I'll turn it in next month when I feel like it. My month report is due every month at a certain time. And I'm afraid we're teaching students that they can grow up and do that in the real world. Also, in the real world, you don't have multiple opportunities to keep retaking the test when you fail at it. And I have a problem with that. And as you well know, I've expressed my concerns about SBG before. And my question regarding that is, how many times can they retake a test? Is there a limit to how many times tests can be retaken?
So I'll start with that question. So with retakes, and I know, Holly, you could potentially speak to how you work that in your classroom as well. That's up to each teacher or the department or the site to identify. What we find is that for most of our students, it's 1, maybe 2 retakes at the most. But because there are other strategies that many times our teachers are implementing to support that student. So in many instances, it's a reteach, it's additional practice, it's some additional work in preparation for that reassessment. And we identify that students then do not continue that process repeatedly unless they truly need that additional instructional assistance, which is what we're all charged with. As teachers in classrooms, as administrators in the system, that is our primary responsibility, in which case we're being appropriate to address that. So it does look a little bit different from teacher to teacher, course to course.
Yes, in our class, or in my classroom, and in all of Algebra 1 and Calculus classrooms at South Elgin High School, we've implemented reassessment timeframes to help ourselves as teachers, that I don't have this student wanting this and this and this, and it becomes unmanageable from a teacher point of view. So they would have an opportunity at the end of each quarter and the end of the semester. So they would have at most 3 opportunities, and that's on every standard in the class.
Yeah, and a follow-up to that, I have another teacher management question, because I think it'd be hard for teachers if you were allowed to accept late work. If I were a student who wanted to get by with just doing enough, I could wait until like the night before the end of the semester and then turn in all my assignments when you're trying to finish your grades on the last day. So what prevents them from doing that?
I think that becomes more of an issue in an ELA classroom, and they do have cutoffs at some point that this is over, we cannot keep grading these papers. But those skills are still assessed in another manner, and it would be similar in math. If I'm using that homework as an assessment, as a summative assessment for the student, I would have to find another way to assess that skill, or I can't accept it. And I don't think in our building there are teachers that are accepting things up until the last day of the semester.
So what we're working on trying to support teachers with, especially through that professional development, is identifying what that appropriate instructional interval looks like for those standards or those skills. It does look a little bit different from course to course. Many of our math courses tend to have more finite timeframes for that as compared to ELA. But as we support teachers, what we're asking them to do is to continue to look at that standard, identify what an appropriate timeline is for doing that practice. So whether it's practice or homework, by what time should a student complete that so it still makes the most sense for them instructionally? If I'm proceeding in a course and I need that skill to move on to another, there's more of a definitive timeline for that. So it's not an open-ended timeline for that. But we are working with our teachers and our sites to help them identify what's best for that scenario.
Thank you.